Well, hello, friends and family. I'm still David Michael Smingy, and Britta is still here. But I think we're looking more at weeks than we are at months. And I wanted to give you all that news. I felt it was fair. It is a bit frustrating in that it is probably more on an accelerated course than I thought. I think just clinically looking at Britta and watching her, it's obvious that she's declining in front of us in many ways. Some of those practical ways, just having difficulty reasoning and thinking and doing some basic functions of everyday living. And I will just briefly state it's obvious to everyone around her who's with her that things just aren't physically well. We did have a beautiful Easter weekend where we had a great Good Friday service that brought together a lot of local Dearborn churches, and Britta was there, and we sang together and worshiped together. It was beautiful, just being there in that moment and holding her close as we sang and sang. And I couldn't think of any better way to spend a Friday, a Good Friday night, and her brother was there, her sister was there. It was her brother-in-law. It was beautiful, and it was good being there. We went to Easter service together on Sunday, and Britta was there, and Britta's sister's family was there, and Britta's brother's family was there, and it was gorgeous just being present there too. And we sang and worshiped together, and we loved it. We went to Legoland. Britta had some trouble walking and struggled with that physically. We did go on a ride together, and it was fun. There's apparently a Legoland nearby too. That was news to me. It was fun. We got home, we had a good night, and Monday came, and thank God in His mercy gave me a challenging patient Friday at clinic, and I think it was enough to push me over my limits to say I'm not coming in Monday. And I think part of that was my colleagues also look at me and say, Smingy, you ought not to come in on Monday. And I'm grateful I didn't. I spent the morning with her, and just really tender, sweet moments. We just sat on the couch, and we just sat on the couch. She held my hand and kissed it, and God, just very sweet. But she didn't want to eat much. And to be fair, I don't eat breakfast, but just didn't want to eat much and just tired. I think certainly the weekend tired her out a bit, but I think her tumor is growing too. And it's a long Monday. She really didn't say too much. I probably spent the whole day just holding her. And I kept thinking about the wedding vows that we made, and I think every wedding vow should include the line to have and to hold. And we held. I just held her all day. And people came over, Like we had some scheduled folks coming to see by, and Britta had we got up to use the bathroom or something, and she just walking back from that had right-sided facial weakness, and that's new. And it was intermittent. It came and went, but it was new, and that to me makes me think that her tumor is growing into really important areas. We're looking at right-sided motor function, and she kind of already has lost some left, and she's been having these sort of back spasms, and I think a lot of that's probably her tumor just weaseling its way through parts of her brain that, not that any part of her brain's important, but just having more influence, I think, on her, and causes sort of these tight moments. You can imagine if you have these muscle spasms, but just imagine if suddenly your back just, it flexed, and you just couldn't stop it. And I think Britta's been experiencing that, and I think in our legs too. But back to Monday. So a friend came over, talked with us for just a while, and it was obvious to her too. We prayed with her and called friends and family and said, it just don't know how much time we got. I think it just declared itself. I think in that moment that we're looking at weeks kind of timeline to maybe longer. Maybe we're wrong. I would love to be wrong and get more time with her. But I think it's time to start saying, look, if it's time to acknowledge that. So we will. I called off all my clinical responsibilities for work for the next 3 weeks. I think the admin stuff will follow that soon. Yeah. Been talking with a lot of people. I'm thinking about all the things that have been said, and I got to hold her more today, and it was lovely. She was much more talkative today than yesterday, and that was encouraging. I thank all of you for listening and being there and talking and just giving me someone to talk to. As I think about and experience this, there's always been a head knowledge of the things that are God's and like His domain, and knowing the assurance of salvation, and that like this world really is cursed, and just I think in a way I'm really just feeling it more. Like I've known and felt, but this is a different feeling. And I think about my patients who've experienced death or been close to death, and I think I'm picking up what they're putting down now. Everything that you can imagine comes along with death is there, and it's just like in one sense, peeling, a washing, awareness of inequity and of disparities, of sinning, that idea, just missing the mark of what should have been both in yourself and the world, and you just know so clearly, unquestionably clearly, that these things are just not the way that they should be. It's not. It isn't. And you can't put your head in the sand. I guess you can, it's tempting. I think it's super tempting. I think my parents will tell you a story where I just did that for fun. I would just go stick my head in little sand in the backyard. But no, not this me, and not now. And I think I want to turn my face towards death and look at it and know it and enter into that suffering, because that's what our Savior did, and that's what I will do. And I will look into that suffering, and I will walk through that suffering, and I will be there during that suffering, just like Christ is for my wife. I will be there for her. And I'll experience her death. And then beyond that, there really is an eternal hope of life forever, guaranteed. Not because of anything I've done, or she's done, or parents done, or will do, or has done, but only through Christ do I have any real hope in these moments. And I feel closeness to that, and a peace with that, and a real hope for the future in that. Things really will, they really will be okay, be renewed, and be remade into the way that they should be. But for a little while, we see that dimly. But someday, we'll know it in full. So you can pray for me as I walk through that, as Britta walks through that, as Perrin walks through that, as my family extended walks through that, my friends, my church family, and you, too, someday will also walk and face that. I pray for all of you as you look at your own lives, too, and think about how to best spend them. As for me and Perrin, and whatever time Britta has, I want to spend it loving my God and loving my neighbor, and trying to bring as much of His kingdom here as we can. God bless all of you, and I will keep you all posted.